Hello, welcome to Flight Attendant Career Connection, and also welcome to 2020. So today is New Year's Day, very first day of 2020. Brand new year. This welcome video is designed for you if you're new to Flight Attendant Career Connection, the Facebook group, or the community. And I just wanted to put this video together to, first of all, tell you a little bit about who I am. My name's Abbie. Also, we're going to talk about how to become a flight attendant. I'm going to answer some frequently asked questions, and then I'm also going to tell you about how Flight Attendant Career Connection and me can help you reach your goals. So I've got some notes down here because I want to make sure that I get all of the information out. But first, I want to show you my journal. I got this for Christmas. It came in a 3-pack. They all have little words, but this one says Start Your Journey, and it's got the map. So I'm just super excited about it because it's so travel-y and says Start Your Journey, which is perfect for today. So first of all, welcome. I'm so excited that you have found Flight Attendant Career Connection, whether you were referred from a flight attendant on a flight that you worked, or you have a friend who referred you to the group, or maybe you just were Googling around or reading articles and you stumbled across me and Flight Attendant Career Connection. I'm super excited that you're here, and I'm honored to be a part of your journey as you pursue the flight attendant career, because it's something, if you just are meeting me for the first time, you will quickly realize that I am passionate about this career. I feel like the flight attendant career is an honorable career, and it is something that if you have a dream in your heart to do, then that dream is there for a reason, and I want to help you get on that airplane because I believe that there's going to become a moment when you were the person that was supposed to be standing there helping another human being on the plane. So I'm Abbie Unger. I'm the owner and founder of Flight Attendant Career Connection, which is a community that offers encouragement and community and resources and coaching to aspiring flight attendants. My goal is to help you reach your flight attendant goals faster and with less frustration. So this group has been around, Flight Attendant Career Connection, as a company and a group for a little over 6 years now. And so we have helped tens of thousands of flight attendants reach their goals and earn their wings. And that's something that I'm really proud of personally, and I'm really excited about. I'm hoping that I get to help you too. So, and even if you're just in this group, I know even just being in the group, you're going to find value and questions answered and even friendly faces and heart emojis that will help to move you towards your goal. Our community is a really positive place with lots of information. And it's just an awesome place to be if you're an aspiring flight attendant. So I'm going to reference my notes now. I also want to tell you a little bit about me. I'm Abbie Unger, like I said, and I'm a former flight attendant, so I'm not currently flying right now. Currently, I am a full-time mom, and I run Flight Attendant Career Connection full-time. So I do have a background as a flight attendant, but when I had my first baby, I decided to hang up my wings for a little while, and now I have 3 children. I'm from the low country of South Carolina, but my husband works for Southwest Airlines on the ground, and when they opened the new station in Hawaii last March, we had the opportunity to transfer. So I currently live on Oahu, which is really amazing, obviously, experience and adventure. So that's a little bit about me. I help people reach their flight attendant goals through videos like this that are informative. I also do personalized services like coaching and resume services, which I'll talk about a little bit more at the end. But let's go ahead and dive in. And I'm going to tell you how to become a flight attendant. So we're basically just going to go through the steps. This is one of the questions that we get asked a ton. How do I get started? How do I become a flight attendant? Now, this advice is for people who are trying to join an airline based in the United States. The advice is also pretty accurate for Canada and Australia. Those are the countries that I have worked with coaching clients who have been successful. But outside of the United States, the rules are very different. Most countries, a lot of countries will have age limits, weight limits, as well as schooling that is required before. And that's different from the United States. So this information is for airlines based in the United States, okay? So let's get started. So the first thing that you have to do, step one, is you want to make sure that you're qualified. Now, the qualifications to become a flight attendant are pretty basic. The competition is what is intense, but the qualifications are actually pretty basic. You need 2 to 3 years of customer service experience. So that could be everything from nannying to working in the medical field to working in more traditional customer service roles in retail or working in a restaurant, working in an office, anything like that. So that is the first thing you have to make sure that you're qualified. Some of the other qualifications will vary between airline. Age. Now there's no top age, but some airlines hire at 19, some hire at 20, and then everyone hires at 21. Everyone else hires at 21. So if you are 18, 19, 20, you can find a little bit of opportunity. And honestly, that might be a nice stair step. I know several people who have started with a smaller regional and then moved up to mainline as they have gone from being 19 to being 21. So that's something that you can consider. And then also height regulations vary between airline because they're based on the size of the aircraft. Some airlines have minimum, like you have to be this tall or this can reach this high. And then some top it out where you can't be over 5'10" or you can't be over 6 feet. All of that information is going to be clear in the job description. So when you go to SkyWest, on their website and the requirements, make sure you're reading, especially if you're on the taller side or the shorter side, look and find the regulation and make sure that you qualify because some airlines will measure you at the face-to-face interview. And if you're not the right height, then you don't get to even move forward. So let's make sure, if you're not qualified because of height, they're not your airline, move on to the one that you are qualified for and spend all your attention focusing in that direction. So first you make sure you're qualified. Next, you're going to get your resume airline ready. I have 2 fairly lengthy free videos on YouTube. I'll link in the comments that go over how to make your resume airline ready and talking about keywords and formatting and all that kind of stuff. But you need to make sure that your resume is a resume that is designed to apply for the flight attendant job. So that means it highlights your relevant experience relevant to the flight attendant job, talking about customer service, teamwork, and safety. If you can pull those 3 responsibilities out of every job that you've had in the last 10 years on your airline ready resume, then you are at a fantastic starting point. Like I said, those videos are pretty lengthy, so I'm going to link them so that you can watch them. You can also reach out to me. I do have a couple different options as far as resume services, everything from a review where I just give you feedback on your finished resume so you can make sure it's ready to go, or full service rewrite with cover letter. So that's your resume. So that's step 2. Make sure it's airline ready. Don't put your picture on your resume. Don't. Unless you're applying to Emirates and they ask for it. Don't put your picture on your resume. Don't. Okay, number 3. So we're going to make sure we're qualified, get our resume airline ready. Now we get to apply. You apply online through the airline's website. That's all. You can upload it to LinkedIn or put it on Indeed or send it to your friend or give it to your mom to give to her neighbor who used to be married to a Delta pilot. All of that, and that's not how you apply. You need to go to the airline's website. There is a link in the description. I think it's actually already there if you're watching it live. If not, I'll make sure if you're watching the replay to airline listings. It's a link on my website that we update pretty much every day, sometimes every other day, that has a list of all the airlines and who's hiring. So that is the resource that you can use to get to the correct place to apply. Like I said, you apply with the airline. That's the only way. That's the only way to apply. You upload your resume, fill out your application. Delta is currently not accepting resumes, even though as part of the application process. So don't let that throw you off. But everyone else takes a resume just like regular. So you're going to apply. That's step 3. Now is when the fun happens, because step 4 is you're going to start interviewing. And interviewing is a deal. It is a process. I mean, it's an exciting process, but for most airlines, the first step will be a video interview where you're going to get a link to a on-demand video interview that you can do any time of day or night, which is awesome. But it's basically questions will pop up on the screen and you will record yourself answering the questions. I would love to be a flight attendant because I am just amazing. And then you click stop and send, and someone else will review your video interview. I'll be honest, video interviews are one of the toughest interviews because we love people, right? That's why we want to be flight attendants. We love people, and we're talking to a machine. And so you don't get those eyes, and you don't get that human interaction, and you don't get that energy back. So it can kind of throw your mojo off with interviewing. And I only say this to warn you so that you're not like, oh my gosh, I'm the only person. Everybody feels weird, especially on the first one. There's some other videos on YouTube that I have for video interviews specifically, because it is just kind of an unusual thing to just record your answers to a machine and like send them off into the world. But that's usually the first step. So the more you do it, the better you get, and you just kind of have to dive in and just do the best you can do. So that's the first part of the interview. You will also encounter what is the other one? Oh, face-to-face. Duh. You will also encounter face-to-face interviews. Not every airline does a face-to-face anymore. Some airlines will offer you a job straight off that video interview, which is pretty cool. But the face-to-face interview is what you would think about more in a traditional interview, a face-to-face. You're sitting down across from a recruiter. But a lot of times, the face-to-face day, it's usually like 6 hours, it involves other stations and other activities, group activities, physical activities, meaning just reach test, fit in the jump seat test, not like jumping jacks or like push-up tests. Thank the Lord. But, there's a couple little physical things to make sure that you're the right height or the right size to fit in the jump seat. And that's the face-to-face, as well as sitting down with your recruiter. You usually have an opportunity to speak in front of the group. Make sure that you're comfortable standing in front of a group of strangers and communicating information, since that's what a flight attendant does all the time, every day. So that is what the interview looks like. It is a process, usually. It is usually several month process, and you're waiting, and you're just taking it step at a time. Because they're hiring lots of people. It's not like one person, let's get it filled by May, interview and fill it. They're constantly interviewing, filling training classes with groups of people. So that's a little bit how the interview process works. SkyWest is different. So let's talk about SkyWest really quick. They do not do invitation interviews. If you go to skywest.com and you look at their website, they will have a list of all of their open houses, and they go all over the country, back and forth all the time, sometimes twice a day they're interviewing. And if you see an open house nearby, where near your town or in a town that you want to go to, you can just apply online, but you don't have to wait for an invitation. You can just not pop in. I mean, you have to be there with your stuff, but you just can go without having an invitation. No video interview if that totally freaks you out. And you don't have to wait on the invitation. So you can just go. They do a group interview where you stand at the front of the room and answer why you want to be a flight attendant. And then they do the face-to-faces. And that's it. You find out anywhere from 10 days to 3 weeks later if you've been successful. So SkyWest is one that you would probably consider the most traditional in some ways, because you're not jumping through as many hoops. So that's something to consider if you're kind of like ready to go. Let's get it done. And, the video interview is overwhelming to you. So that's how SkyWest does it. Now, let's go to the next step. So we're making sure we're qualified, got our resume ready, we've applied, moving through the interview process. Once you have been successful in the interview process, you will be invited to training. So we use this acronym in the Facebook group called a CJO, which stands for Conditional Job Offer. And it's conditional on your passing your drug test, your background check, as well as training. So your CJO, you'll see that posted a lot. I got the CJO. The opposite of that is a TBNT, which stands for thanks but no thanks. And that's when you haven't been successful. That's just in case you're curious about what the acronyms mean. You'll also see VI for video interview. You'll see F2F for face-to-face interview. You'll see LI for live interview, and that's actually a live video Skype style interview, so a live interview. And then a PI is a phone interview. Some airlines still do a phone interview, some don't. Okay, so that is interview. Next, you're going to go to training. Once you get your job offer, you'll get a training date at some point. Sometimes it's right away. Sometimes it's after your background check has been processed. Now, for training will vary on the airline. It will be anywhere from 3.5 to 7.5 weeks. Most airlines will provide transportation and housing. Hawaiian does not. Everyone else does. Transportation and housing during training at their headquarters. Some airlines will pay you. Some airlines will only give you like a stipend or a per diem stipend and then provide some food. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. That's how training works. It's how it works. Now, during training, which is amazing. I love training. I was an instructor for one of my airlines, so I love training. That's my favorite thing. Training is amazing. You're going to make awesome friends. You are going to learn how to do CPR. You're going to learn how to use the AED, the defibrillator. You're going to learn how to give amazing service. I learned how to open champagne bottles. You get to learn so many cool things in training. You learn how to evacuate the airplane in less than 90 seconds, y'all. You learn how to get all 300 people off of a burning airplane in a minute and a half. It's amazing. Talk about adrenaline. So training is really, really, really cool. There's a lot of testing and training. There's a lot of standards. The standards are pretty high. But, once you've made it to training, they have already invested a lot of money and a lot of time in you, and they want you to be successful. So they're not weeding people out or anything like that. But that's the next step, training. And then once you graduate from training, you start flying. You're a flight attendant, and you do it, and you start traveling and seeing the world. Omaha, Birmingham, Detroit, no, Paris, Barcelona, Narita. Hopefully you'll get to see those places too. So that is how you become a flight attendant. Now we're at the end. That was training. So now we're done. Let's move on to the next part. I want to go over some frequently asked questions, which I have some notes for these too. I'm trying to be super organized in this new year where I don't just get on here and stream of consciousness everything. All right. First question. Am I too old? Am I too fat? Am I too short? Am I too tall? Okay, so age limit. Let's do age first. There in the United States, I am super proud to say that there is no longer any age limits. You can be as old as you are and still get hired as a flight attendant as long as you can do the job. And this is not lip service. This is not something that's just written down somewhere, but they really only hire young girls. Absolutely not. Most of my clients I work with are between 45 and 65 years old. And I've worked with clients older. I think the oldest person I've seen hired, which I don't know everybody that's been hired, but I saw a post from Alaska. Someone posted that they were flying with someone who was hired at, I think it was 71, and he's been flying for 10 years. So he's 81, still flying with Alaska as a flight attendant, hired with no flight attendant experience at 71 years old. So that should encourage all of y'all that are thinking, I missed my chance because I didn't do it before, right out of college. Go for it, girl. Go for it, dude. I don't know. What's the opposite, Go for it, gentlemen. Go for it, sir and ma'am. Go for it. Anyways. Okay, wait. I am also super proud to say that aviation no longer has a weight limit. Now, when you told somebody over Christmas you were thinking about being a flight attendant, Aunt Sally probably said, oh, I thought you were a little bit too thick to be a flight attendant. That's not true. That's not true. Tell Aunt Sally, she doesn't know. Back when she was trying to be a stewardess, maybe. But there is no weight limit to be a flight attendant. Now, you do have to be able to fit in the jump seat, fit down the aisle. So you can't be, there is some body kind of regulations, but they will not weigh you anymore. They actually stopped weighing flight attendants in 1997, which feels pretty recent to me, honestly. But they don't weigh you anymore. So let's talk numbers. Let's just not talk fit in the jump seat. Who the heck knows how big a jump seat is? A good guideline for women is about a size 18. So if you're about a size 18, now we all carry weight differently, but if you're about a size 18, you should be good. It shouldn't even be a concern. If you're a little bit over that, it depends on how you carry your weight. If you're, if it's in the top, if it's in the bottom, that could be sort of the deciding factor. But just so that we all have, I don't like to speak in just theories, but a size 18 is a good rule of thumb as far as sizes go for women. And hopefully you find this encouraging. When I got hired with my first airline, I was wearing a size 12 suit. And with my second airline, I was hired wearing a size 14 suit. So I was not a thin flight attendant. I was young, but I wasn't thin or skinny. So that, again, is not just lip service. And I also, as a size 14 girl, fit in the jump seat 8 months pregnant. So the jump seats are not tiny either. Of course, depends on where you carry your weight and all that kind of stuff. All right, next, moving on. Height. I talked already a little bit about height. So Hopefully you already have that question answered in your brain. Check the guidelines. You may or may not be disqualified from some airlines, but there's not a mandated across the board kind of height qualification. All right, let's talk about tattoos. Y'all, tattoos. Okay, tattoos. At this point, nobody will allow visible tattoos while in uniform. And that's what they say, but the guideline varies between carrier as to what they consider, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold, what they consider visible or how you can cover it. So some airlines are like, as long as it's covered in the uniform, we don't care. Some airlines will say it has to be covered by any of our uniform pieces, which means if they have a short sleeve option, you couldn't have a wrist tattoo. Some airlines will actually let you use makeup to cover the cover your tattoo as well. So this information is not as easy to find. I'll be honest with you. It's not as easy to find the guidelines for tattoos for every airline because they all just sort of say must not be visible in uniform. But then that kind of, like I said, so it kind of just depends a little bit. I will say that the airlines, we have in the last 6 months, like super recently, seen a big movement towards more acceptance of tattoos. Now, they still can't be visible, but more airlines are being less strenuous about how they're letting you cover your tattoos. You can find information in the Facebook group. Make sure when you're searching, though, and you're looking at a post that's fairly recent, because if you get a post from when we started in 2015, it's going to tell you Frontier Airlines is like a no tattoo at all, but they're actually a little bit more loose about it now. Another piece of good news is Alaska Airlines, with their new uniform that they're rolling out this year, their new guidelines will allow you to have a visible tattoo as long as it is not offensive and it is smaller than a credit card. Hallelujah. So that means everybody with your wrist tattoo, Bible verse, y'all know that country song, all of y'all with that, it's moving in your direction. All right, let's talk about training. When you go to training, we're going to talk about how to find a place to live. When you go to training, you will more than likely be assigned your crew base during training, which means when you go to training, you don't know where you're going to live when you graduate from training. So there is this thing called a crash pad. Crash pad is a very generalized term for the place that you live in your base city that you crash at. And Hotel Crash Pad Network is the best place to start. They are in almost every city and they're growing, but Hotel Crash Pad Network is an advertiser for Flight Attendant Career Connection, and it's owned by a captain at JetBlue, and he goes in to towns, to cities that have crew bases, finds nice hotels, partners with them, and they actually take the beds out and put in bunk beds so that more people can sleep in the room. And, so you're not like getting so the value is there, and you rent them by the month. All crash pads, you rent them by the month. You're usually in a bunk bed or a single bed, and you just sort of take your stuff in and take your stuff out with you. It's just a safe, comfortable place for you to be at night when you can't be at home because you're waiting to work the next day. Yeah, so check out Hotel Crash Pad Network. Another thing I love about them is you get to still use the amenities at the hotel. So the shuttle, the pool, all of the things that come with hotels, which is really, really amazing. So that's a little bit about crash pads. One more thing. Let's talk about hot beds and cold beds because you'll hear those terms a lot. A hot bed or hot bunking means you don't have an assigned bed in your crash pad. You just come in and you either have sheets in your bag or maybe there's sheets there available for you to make up your bed so that it is a clean sheet bed. But that's called hot bunking. If you have a cold bed or a cold bunk, then you have an assigned bed and no one else will sleep in that bed while you're away. The term, I think, is super interesting. It's actually an old Navy term because when they built the submarines, they had half as many beds as men. So the day shift would sleep at night, and then when they got up, the night shift would go to bed. And when they would get in the bunk, because there's half as many bunks, so they all had to share bunks, the bed would still be hot. So it's called hot bunking because the other dude just got out. I just think that's funny. Okay, so that's a little bit about training. That's another frequently asked question. Where am I going to live when I graduate from training? Let's talk about passports. got 2 more frequently asked questions. Let's talk about passports. Do you need a passport to be a flight attendant? Well, yes, because you're going to be leaving the country, hopefully, at some point as a flight attendant. But a better question is, do you need a passport to apply? So, again, it varies between carrier. Some airlines, like JetBlue, is hiring right this minute, which it is January 1st when you're watching, if you're watching this as a replay. They're accepting applications for flight attendant. They require you to have a passport in your possession, not a receipt, not I'm getting it renewed, not I'm going to get it before the interview. To apply, to fill out the application, they want you to have a passport in your possession, okay? So that's super specific, but not every airline is like that. So there's other airlines that you could apply with today while you're waiting to get your passport. But y'all, we love people and we love to travel, right? Like, that's why we're doing this. That's why we're signing up. Passports can be expensive, especially if you have to get them expedited. So I recommend that you look, I think they're like $160. That's a chunk of money. If it is, let's start saving up. $10 a week, $10 every paycheck, so that you are getting closer to having your passport. Because otherwise, if you're scrambling and you have to have it expedited, there's another fee on top of that. And so avoiding that is the best. Plus, we love to travel. Let's get our passports, y'all. Okay, last frequently asked question, drugs. Okay, I think this is funny, but I don't know why I think drugs are not funny, y'all. Drugs are not funny. Marijuana is legalized in several states in the United States. Medical for recreational use. Medical marijuana is legalized in most states, a lot of states. CBD oil is legal in every state that I know of. These marijuana-based products are still federally illegal, and you will be taking a federal DOT, Department of Transportation, drug test to become a flight attendant. They will test you sometimes the day you interview. They will test you sometimes the week after you interview. They will test you sometimes at training. You sometimes get 3 months. You sometimes get 5 minutes. If you want to be a flight attendant and you're going to start applying, you have got to stop using marijuana-based products, because if you fail a federal DOT drug test, that will stick with you. Okay, it's a big deal. I'm not here to say if it's fair. I'm not here to say if it's right. I'm just here to say that it's real. Okay. Here's the thing about CBD oil. It's not regulated. The THC in it, they say it's no THC, but it's not regulated, and it's almost impossible for them to consistently make it 0. So there might be a little bit in there, not enough that you even feel the effects, but as it builds up in your body, it could show up on that drug test. Okay. So even though you're not getting high all the time and you're taking your CBD drops and gummies, it still could show up on the drug test. So I wouldn't even play with that. Now, if you have a medical marijuana prescription, then you need to go talk to your doctor and find out if there is an alternative to help you treat whatever you are treating with the marijuana. But you cannot take your doctor's note or your prescription into your drug test and give it to the federal government and say, but I had a prescription. You will still be disqualified. While we're talking about drugs, if you are on ADD medicine though, like a Adderall or something that is stimulant based, you are okay with that. Your prescription will cover that, even if it shows up as, I think, as an amphetamine or something. It can show up on your drug test, but those are okay as long as you are taking it as prescribed with your prescription. So ADD medicine, stimulant based, okay. Anything to do with marijuana, no go. And it's like super sad, because I know it's legal. Most people that are failing drug tests are not breaking the law. They're not breaking the law. Okay. But it's a federal thing. So hopefully that answers your question on that. Again, not saying if it's fair or not. That's just kind of how it is, unfortunately. Great. So that was our last frequently asked question. Now let's talk a little bit about how we can work together. I've mentioned a couple things, but my goal, like I said at the beginning, is to help you reach your flight attendant goal faster and with less frustration. So I want to help you figure it out faster and not be as frustrated, not, have to do as many video interviews before you figure it out. That's really my goal. And the way that I do that is with private interview coaching, resume services, and classes. So on YouTube, you can find lots of free information at Abbie Younger TV, Abbie Younger TV on YouTube. But if we are going to work together personally, there is a fee for some of that. I have classes on the STAR format interview method, the confidence class, and also a brand new class called Foundation, which talks about the industry insights and lifestyle lowdown. I also have a workbook that is breaks down the types of interview questions that you will see in a flight attendant interview into 4 different types, gives you some instruction as well as example questions and room for you to brainstorm and write your questions and practice. And then I also do private interview coaching where we would get together on Zoom, which is a video conferencing, just privately, and we would go over your goals, go over your experience, and then we will practice. Well, you will practice answering interview questions, and I'll give you feedback so that you can really, really feel confident that you're headed in the right direction, that you know how to do the STAR format and all that kind of stuff. And then I also do resume services. Like I mentioned before, everything from a review where, you could say, my resume's finished. Can I purchase a review? I give you your feedback, check it for typos, make sure the keywords are there, that it's ready to go, all the way to writing your resume yourself, or myself. Writing your resume for you myself. I would do it for you. So it's ready to go. So it's just ready to go. All of these classes and services are included in the Looking Skyward package. So when you bundle them together, you save a little bit of money. I'll put the link down in the description. I don't think I did it yet, so that you can go check it out if you would like to. But it's expensive. It has private coaching. It's not expensive, but it's not, I don't know. Expensive is relative. I shouldn't say it's expensive because maybe you don't think it's expensive, but I will say it is an investment. That's a better word. It's an investment because there is some private coaching and some time and some personalized service. If that's not in your budget, I recommend two things. First, the foundations class, because it will set your foundation as to what a regional is, how this works, what we're trying to do, what the industry is like. It just answers so many questions about how this works. And then the second piece of information that I recommend everyone get is the workbook. It comes with a couple bonuses that will really help you on your own work to format in your brain what you want to say. My goal is always to make sure that you know what you bring to the table and that you're able to clearly communicate that to your recruiter so they can see it. We're not trying to be somebody different. We're not trying to be what they want. We're trying to be us in a way that is so visible that they're like, I can see how they're going to be an awesome flight attendant. So I'm going to put the links to all that stuff in the description if you're watching the replay. If you're watching it live, I don't think they're in there yet. But hopefully that helped you maybe get some questions answered. I also hope that you feel inspired because right now is an amazing time to be a flight attendant. So many airlines are hiring. There is so much opportunity. Delta this year, 2020, is going to hire like 2,500 flight attendants, whereas in the past they would hire 400 to 800 a year. This is insane. There is so much opportunity. The industry is growing. Airlines are getting new airplanes, new routes. It's just a really great time to get in there. There's a lot of opportunity. There are at least a dozen airlines hiring today that you can go and apply for and start the process. And this job, it's an amazing job. It offers so much opportunity. It's not perfect. Every day is not beautiful. Excuse me. There's days that you're going to be tired. There's days that you're going to feel bad. There's days you're going to get yelled at. And then there's days that are going to be just more beautiful than you could ever imagine. And so that's what I hope for you. Happy New Year. This is your year. You've always had your wings. All you have to do is spread them. I believe in you. I would love to help you. Feel free to private message me or email me, and we can talk about how we can work together. Have a great New Year's Day.